Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Last time you saw Brent's truck, it had fenders. Well, now it's got a hood. But in putting the hood on and fitting it all up, we discovered that these doors, which came aligned on the cab already, weren't aligned. So I've already worked on the back door and I'm working on the front door. And you can see here that there's no hinge. So this truck was all put together, pinned, whatever you want to call it. Um, the guy drilled holes, did all the alignment, drilled the holes for the hinges here, and pinned it up and put it back together. So this is an old school way of doing that. It's a foolproof way to realign everything, but the key to doing that is you kind of have to have it right before you pin it. So there's holes drilled here, and we had a problem with the gap up top here. And I tried everything to get this door in farther. And if you watch the other video of us putting doors on Gary's truck, I didn't struggle that much with Gary's truck, but I did have a little bit of issues with Gary's truck. Now, I said, we'll try and shim these hinges out. So basically you take your hinge and you take a body shim and you'd put it behind it like this to try to shim this hinge so that it would rock the door in more. Well, I had an 1/8 inch of shim back on the back of this hinge, and it wasn't enough. Now, I don't know if he replaced these hinges, if these are new. I don't know where these hinges came from. So I don't know if these are aftermarket, if these are Ford OEM, or what these are. But I could not get this door to go in. So the problem with the door sticking out, you have a seal here, and this seal goes up over the top of the door here, and this seal was going to do nothing because it's adhesive on the door, and it wasn't contacting the A-pillar. It was barely touching it. Ideally, you want that gasket, that seal, to squish just a little bit. You want it to just touch. So I went ahead and I pulled this hinge off because there's something wrong here. And I found that right here, so I'll bring the camera in a little bit. So right here, there was a high spot in this cab. This panel here is supposed to be totally flat, and it wasn't. So I ran my finger across it like this, and I could feel a high spot right here. And it was pretty good, and if you were to look at it like this, you could actually see it. And I've already flattened it out a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and put this hinge back on, and you can kind of see the shim behind this one here. And I'm going to pull this one off next and see if it's sprung as well. So to get that kind of a problem, what happens is the door will have to have opened and then opened farther than it should have. So just like the original hood hinges that, if they would overspring or overextend, and you would end up getting a bow in your hood right here whenever you went to shut it, because they were sprung, and when you went to shut the hood, it would bend the hood instead of collapsing the spring. Same effect here. The door opens and then it gets either taken by wind, a vehicle, an object, whatever, and what happens is it overextends the door, and it can actually bend your door here, but 90% of the time it bends the cab right here, and it pulls on the cab and gives it a little bit of a tweak. So I'm hoping that the bottom hinge isn't a problem, but I can almost guarantee you that it is also going to have an issue. So we're going to go ahead, throw this top hinge back on, and then check this bottom one out. So we have the door open now, and we have this upper hinge reinstalled. And you can see that it's pretty tight on the cab mount there. Now if you come down here, trying to get a good angle here, you see how that hinge is pulled away from the cab a little bit there? It should be a lot closer than it is, and it's not. So it's got some pretty good space back there. It's a little hard to tell, but you can kind of see through it there. So the lower hinge is also an issue at the moment. But we were running into the fact that we were out of adjustments in here, which is unusual. So that's why we were running into issues with this. So have to slam the door a little bit because it's got those new seals in. But the other issue we're running into here is we're still pretty big here. And I'll show you what the other side looks like. Now the other side still has the seal in it, but I can't quite get the door all the way shut, but you can see how large that gap is. And even if I were to try to close it, it would be pretty big. So that's the issue we're really having. And I don't think that this side is as bad as the driver's side is, because we haven't done anything, but yeah, you can see that this side is also sprung. So I'm going to end up taking the hinges off of this side as well and giving the cab some massaging, because it's definitely a little bit out more than it should be. I know it's really hard to tell with the seal here. So you can see how it's sticking away from the cab a little bit. So that's not what we want. But we're going to go ahead and pull the lower hinge off and figure out what's going on under here. So going to pull this lower hinge off, and we'll adjust this one now. So we got this lower hinge off of here, and I got this is really a perfect little square here. This is actually out of the rear doors, but that's what I'm talking about, sprung. So you can see down here, there's no rocking, and then it starts to rock, and it rocks, and then as you get up here, it's gone. So this door hinge area here is actually pulled out, and it's really bad right there. And then here, it's a little bad, and here it's a little bad. So I have to take a block of wood and a hammer and beat that back in to let the hinge sit flatter against the cab. And that in turn is giving us a door that is actually sticking out too far, because we are out of adjustment back here on the hinge. And you can actually see this dent right here? See this dent? That is from the door being sprung. So somebody's opened this door like this and either pushed on it or let it go too often, and that's what you get. You run into these kind of issues with door alignment issues, and it can really drive you nuts. So I may actually have to mess with the door itself a little bit, but we're going to try to avoid that and mainly focus right here. So that's going to be our main focus for now, is just try to get the cab flat. So I got a block of wood, an old dead blow hammer. Basically, we're just going to so does not rock anymore. That's beautiful. That's what we want. A little bit of a rock right at the top there, but that's not too bad. A little bit down here, but that's on the spot weld. A little bit right here. So I have to hit it one more time there. So now that we got that flat, we can go ahead and put our hinge back in. So you can see that this hinge has a lot of movement in it. It's all bolted kind of in right now, but we're going to go ahead and tighten all these up and see if that's helped our scenario at all. But right here, these bolt holes on the door, the top and the bottom, they're slotted this way. So you can go in and out, but we were maxed out and needed to go in more on the door. So that's what led me to look and see if the cab was sprung. Visually looking at it from the inside with the door open, and then looking at it here, and you could see that there was something wrong. So we went ahead and fixed the cab. And this is why I always say it's easier to do the doors without a fender. So we have our hinges tight here, and I'm going to open this door up and take that seal out. Now the reason I took the seal out is because I want to adjust this door, but it's hard to adjust the door while you're fighting the seal. So we want this door to go in more, but every time you push it in, the seal would push it back out. So you see how much that door just moved in? So that's actually a little bit too much. So we left that bottom bolt snug so that it would pivot on that bottom bolt. We'll tighten that top one, and then we'll loosen the very, very bottom one. So we have a pretty good, nice even finish here. And this gap's still a little bit big. So we're going to go ahead and adjust the top a little bit more. So when you're adjusting these doors like this door, we're pivoting on this bottom bolt or this top bolt, and depending on what you do, if you loosen these top ones and this top of the bottom one here, and leave the bottom one tight or snug, and you push the door in here, then what happens is the door comes out down here. Now we had a little bit of an issue where the door was kind of not fitting real good down here. So us adjusting this up here, pushing the top in, pushes this bottom corner out, and vice versa. If you push this in, it'll push that out up there. So you're working with a lot of adjustment here, and this gap looks a lot better. It's not as good as I would like it, but it's a heck of a lot better than it was. Now when you're doing this, you're also fighting your B-pillar post here, because this part of the truck is stationary, and we're looking at it like this. You're trying to get this gap right, and it looks to be like I could probably bring this door forward on the top. So I'll probably end up loosening the top of this hinge here, the bolts on the cab, and bringing the hinge forward a little bit, and then that would have to make this hinge go down a little bit, and then that would just kind of rotate the door like this. So that's what we're trying to do here. We have our striker assembly pretty well set where it needs to be. We can adjust that if we have to. That's a very simple adjustment, but it does look like the gap is a little bit bigger on the bottom than it is on the top. So we're going to give this door a little bit of a rotation here. So what I did was I loosened these top two, loosened these bottom two, and left these ones a little bit tight. They're just a little bit snug here. So I'm hopefully going to be able to open this door and give it what it needs to do. Sometimes it doesn't work that well, so usually I have to do it this way. So we got our top hinge about where we want it. This gap looks much, much better up through here. So we're going to mess with the bottom one here. So here's our door gap now. And the green to white stripe is not straight, so it will mess you up, but you want your angles, so your body lines to hit just right. It's really, really hard to tell down here on the bottom, but our gaps are pretty good, which is great. And then this gap is much, much better. So that's what we're looking for here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten all these hinges up and hopefully repeat on the other side. So this was something I wanted to show you guys. We're running into this. I've been working on this all day, and you can see why this is tedious and takes time. So I'm hoping we can get these doors right, and then we'll be able to set these fenders up so much better. That way they line up a lot better. But you can see that this hood is pretty good with the cowl. We ended up having to do some fitment in the back here. You can see all the dust and some Sharpie markers still on it. It doesn't look too bad. Could use a little bit more refinement. However, it looks pretty good. It fits pretty decent. Typical, aftermarket hood. It is a Cervini's hood, but these fit the best on the market, and they still need a little bit of love. I wish they would make it a little bit thicker on these edges here, just to kind of hide any gaps. But yeah, we're probably gonna have to do the same thing on this side, and it's a little harder to video on this side. It's a lot more confined over here, but I think we got this side pretty well put into where it needs to be. You can see that gap is much, much better, and we'll go ahead back over here on the other side, and you can kind of see this one. Like I said, this one's a little bit more difficult because the seal's in here, but the door will shut a little bit more, but you can see how big that gap is, and that's way, way too big. It just should never be that large. But then you can see this side over here, much, much smaller. And even if we were to open the door, you can still see how small it is down here, and the door's open, and it's about as big as the other one whenever that door is pretty much shut. But wanted to show you guys a little problem we ran into with Brent's truck here, and get you guys up to speed on, hey, you're replacing your door hinges and you can't get the door lined. Why? Well, you could have something like that happen, and we had the cab being the problem here. But so hopefully this helps you guys out. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like these videos and these tips and stuff, please subscribe to my channel. Please like all the videos that you obviously like. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one.